You think you know me.
Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Christopher David Lawson of NEPA, and today we're going to be working on modifying my Hawk DLX seat. And basically what I want to do is I want to try to fill in this fill in this divot here and lower this part in the back where the hump is. When I'm sitting on the bike, I actually feel like it tries to pull me toward the center a little bit. So I want to be able to sit back a little bit further. So we're going to go ahead and modify this seat. And basically all you're going to need is a screwdriver or some kind of tool to pull the staples out the bottom of the seat. Then what we're going to do, we're going to measure it and cut the foam out. And what I'm going to use a grinder. That'll be the easiest way to do it. And then when we put the new material in, I have some seat foam to kind of build this section up a little bit. And I also have new material for the cover. But I'll show you that at the end of the video. All right, folks, like I said, the first thing you're going to want to do, there's all these staples underneath here, and that's how they hold the covers on the seats. And we'll be stapling the new cover on there. Screwdriver is probably the best way to try to get this off. You can also use a little pair of pliers or whatever. This material is pretty weak, though. You might have to use a pair of pliers if they don't come out all the way. But we're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm not going to make you watch me pull every one of these, probably 100 staples out. So. All right, folks, that took a while, but now what I did is I got a board underneath where the seat mounts just to get it kind of close. We know the seat kind of tilts like this a little bit, so I'm going to take a marker, and basically this will be up to you how far back you want to cut it. And of course, you don't want to go too deep. Give yourself an idea, you know, get it to roughly where it sits on the bike, the same angle. You can actually do this part on the bike if you want to. Like I said, the weather's kind of crappy, so I'm kind of just eyeballing it. I don't care if it's perfect. I just want it to be better than what it is, and I don't want to spend the money on a new seat. So basically you're going to take a marker and mark how far back you want to go. So I'm roughly going to be cutting it back to here. And of course this isn't a straight line. It's going to have a little bit of a curve to it. Like I said, this comes down to your own personal preference of how you want to do it. Like I said, I'm more or less eyeballing it to where I want to cut it back. And I'll show you from this side. I'll move it over. This is basically what I'm doing, folks. I'm just going to be measuring it out. And of course you can perfect it later on once you start grinding it down and everything. And of course you can sand it too if you need to. But basically this is what I'm doing. Some people might be a little bit more of a perfectionist doing this. I'm really not. I'll make it look good once we get going. Well, basically that's all we're going to do. We're going to be cutting this section out here using the grinder. It isn't too bad. Just take your time. I'll probably start out above my line a little bit. Like I said, the line is basically, to me, just a general suggestion. All right, for this next part, folks, we're going to have to be very careful. We're going to have to hold this thing in place unless you got something to clamp it down. I probably could use a strap or something on it, but that's kind of a pain in the ass. But we're going to go ahead and just use the grinder on it. Be very careful. Kind of just cut it above the line. You can always take a little bit more off, but once you cut too much off, it's a little bit more difficult to add it back in, obviously. But just basically start above the line first. I'll just show you how easy it does cut it back, though. Be careful that it doesn't slip and hit your hand, obviously. You probably should have gloves on. It is going to make a mess, folks. And take your time. Don't try to rush and take big chunks off all at once. I'm going to go ahead and keep working on this. I'll be right back. All right, folks, I pretty much got it where I want it. I did move the hump back a little bit. I just didn't want to have to do it again because I know I can sit pretty far back. Now, basically, you're just going to have to file or sand to kind of even this out a little bit before we kind of build up the front part. But, of course, I will show you. I made a little oopsie early on, but it's definitely going to be a lot better now because now I'll just smooth it out. I generally try to sit back in this portion where the hump was actually right here before, so we moved that right back. Now it's just a matter of cleaning it up, making everything nice and even and smooth. I shouldn't have to use the grinder again for that, so some kind of sander or something, whatever you have to use, but I'll smooth all this stuff out because you will see some of the imperfections if you don't get it flattened just right. And of course, you don't want to sit any weird high spots or at an angle when you're riding the bike. We're trying to make it more comfortable. So I'm going to go ahead and get this sanded and smoothed down, then I'll clean up my area so we can start recovering it. All right, folks, for the next part, I decided not to use the extra foam. I was able to get it pretty smooth with using a sander and stuff, so we're going to go ahead and put our new material on, and I've got it cut just a little bit longer than what I need. We're basically going to put it back on like the factory cover. It's stapled on. This one's not a pre-shaped cover, but what I did get some marine grade vinyl with some nice backing on it. I'll go ahead and show you that once we start getting the cover on. But that's basically it. You're going to be getting this back on. Get it where your seat's pretty much centered in the material. And this is where you're going to be stapling everything in here. And you're basically stretching it. If you've seen my video in the past, I'm basically doing the same thing I did with my camper seats, where you stretch the material. But the only difference is this actually has a shape to it. So it does take a little bit more work to get it going. So it's really not that bad to do it yourself, folks. Just make sure you got plenty of extra material on both ends, and you just work your way down, get it nice and straight, and start stapling. Hopefully I can show you all this on camera. It's kind of hard to see it, but basically you just start stapling, get it going. There's the first staple. Looks like it held pretty well, and now basically you're going to just work your way around. And you may have to cut some material off if you get a little too much extra on there as you're doing it, but I'm going to go ahead and work my way around and start stapling. I got the first couple staples in just to get it started, and basically what you're going to be doing, you're going to end up stretching this material the whole time, so you just have to work with it. Sometimes you may have to take a staple or two out, but just keep working your way down until you get it stapled all the way down. All right, folks, I'm just kind of working my way along a little bit. I'm only stapling every so far just to get it in the position where I want it, and the whole time you're basically stretching it. Like I said, you may still have to pull out a few staples here and there when you're doing it, but as I said, this one's a little bit more complicated. This is the material I'm using. It's a marine grade vinyl, but it's snakeskin. I thought that would be pretty cool, but I'm going to go ahead and keep working on this. Like I said, I'll probably have to cut a little bit of the extra material off. I may have to move a staple once it's in there here and there, but just keep working it to the shape and get it to where you want it. All right, folks, now I'm at the point where I've got this back half pretty well stapled in. And you can see how I have the wrinkles here. So what I'm doing now is working my way back forward. And like I said, I may have to pull a few staples out here and there, trying to get this thing basically centered and stretched as best I can. All right, folks, I got this thing on there pretty good. There's a little bit of wrinkles up here. It's really hard to get this part nice and straight. It's so flexible when you're trying to stretch it out. So I'm just going to wait till the seat actually gets warmed up a little bit. It's out in the sun for a while and I've been riding on it. Then I might be able to make a little bit more adjustments and stretch the material. I'd like to stretch it and move it over a little bit, but I think for now it's a pretty good job. A lot of staples in there, a lot of just moving stuff and restapling it. And I'm going to go ahead out in the rainstorm here and put this on the seat, and we'll see how this looks on the Chanda. All right, folks, weather's still crappy. Like I said, we got the seat back on. There's a little wrinkly right there. Like I said, that part is, the seat's really flexible, so it kind of makes it easier to put the seat back on the bike. But oh, I think that looks pretty good. Should be a lot more comfortable. Like I said, I'll probably still put my sheepskin seats cover over that too, but this should be a lot more comfortable for me to sit on. But thanks for tuning in, folks. I got to get out of this crappy weather and take a shower, but not in this cold weather. Bye for now.